Hi, my name is Sally Barnard, an artist, author, and spiritual experiencer. Welcome to Call Me Zena, a true story into the spiritual realms. Join me as I sit and discuss the journey of self-discovery, and with the help of my spirit guides, it's time to trust your intuition. Sit with me and call in live 888-994-4995, Studio A. And now onto the show. Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to my show. I know I have a lot of people that tune in this time of the day. I also know that also with the shares, you're listening to me on a recording maybe a little later. But one thing I have to say, because they're probably back, I'm hearing "Fly Me to the Moon." Something came into my mind. Okay, well, we have some, didn't get too much of a laugh, but still, that's okay. All right, let me introduce a well-known, famous guest I have sitting on my show today, Erica. It was Kendra.
Listen, I have two first names.
That's fine.
It happens a lot. If people don't remember the first one, they always go for the second one.
I got it backwards, but that's probably how the show is going to go today.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm going to do something a little different. And Steve, I'm sorry, I didn't introduce you. Hi. And of course, Dawn and Freddie. So on with the show. Okay, I'm going to do something. I'm going to read the first prose, I call it actually, because it's not quite poetry, from my book. But what is interesting to me is that I wrote this in November the 2nd, 2006. At that time, I honestly had no idea what I was writing. It just came to me as my art did. Just came, and I just started to write. But today, it's making a lot of sense. What is going on within the mysteries of our souls? How are we to understand? We are but mere mortals in this universe. Way beyond the stars, there are so many mysteries. We have not touched the surface. Must we judge? I think not. Look within. Our answers all are there. Take time to smell the flowers. Look to the sky and way beyond. We are missing so much in this world as we know it. Look within, look beyond. We have so much to learn. Yet, go slow, my child. Forget the anger. Forget the rage. Stop now and learn. We must forgive. We must forgive ourselves. We are immortal. That which was is. Zena. Well, it was kind of appropriate since they are up at the moon. And I'm writing to go and look way beyond the stars. So let's open the show with some questions, Dawn, I think that you have from some people. And we'll go from there. And once again, my voice goes. I do apologize to the audience. It must be allergies in here.
So, Zena, explain to me just what you just read. What those passages mean?
Actually, to me, I haven't got it in front of me now, but I called Russ because I wanted him to come into the studio today because his questions, he kind of understands what I'm talking about because it is way beyond the stars. And what I just wrote is kind of talking a little bit about that. There are mysteries out there. We don't know what is beyond here because we haven't really taken the time to listen. And that's basically what I wrote in 2006. So even I find that a little strange, which must be strange if I find it strange.
How did you know there were mysteries out there beyond the stars?
I didn't, and that's a good question, thank you. Because I didn't know that much then. It's come to me over the last, you say it's 20 years ago now, but I was able to write that. And you know, I'm not saying, oh, this was great, I was able to do it. I want people to understand that there is so much going on, I'm going to say in our subconscious, because here I'm writing about it, I'm drawing things that I had no idea what I was drawing. So look beyond. I don't often remember my prose, but I think we say look beyond the universe. So
why do you think it's hard for us to understand the deeper nature of apparently our souls, our beings, the things that we are supposed to be learning?
Well, yes, but the thing is we don't, this keeps coming back to me, we don't take time to smell the flowers. We don't take time to really learn and see what may be going on because our lives are so busy with everything. So, oh my goodness, my voice happens. Excuse me, audience. Okay. But that was also a good question. We just don't look around to see what's going on. we don't learn what's going on because it's really not taught to us, and there is the problem. We don't learn from other people who may be more advanced than us that have some information. We're inclined to say, I can't be bothered. I don't want to hear. I'm not interested. Well, I find what I'm learning and listen to many things now, and I listen to my higher self. I'm finding it really interesting, especially now that we're flying back to the moon again, because there's so much beyond here that we don't know.
So, Sally, are we meant to fully understand or simply experience?
In the beginning, we're not meant to fully understand because it wouldn't make sense to us. So I think, as Aldo used to say to me, little by little, but if we don't start somewhere, we're not starting this. We need to start little at a time, take in certain things. We may hear something and then we may see something and we'll say that's coincidence. I today call that synchronicity, and it goes on and on.
Now, in your passage, you talked about we're mere mortals in the universe. I always say it's the human side of us.
That's correct.
What
yes.
are we missing about who we truly are?
Well, we're not going, I think I say, because I don't remember it completely, we don't go within because the answers are all there. They're all within us, but we just don't take the time. We just pass it off. But we're given so many messages that we don't listen. Listening to ourselves is very important, and it starts from there.
You say
Seems confused. She's got a question.
Yes,
Oh.
by all means. Let me just clear my throat.
Listening. I'm processing, and that's what I'm
Well,
what I'm
that's
doing.
what it's all about.
Yeah.
And to call you Erica again.
Yes.
Because we got to start somewhere on this journey, and by listening, that's how I started. And I'm 20 years in, and there's so much. I'm not saying I'm even ahead of people. I'm just understanding what I'm learning basically from myself, because the answers are around us. And we just look and we get a question sometimes, and we don't bother to go and search more about what someone may have told us.
Right.
And I admit I do that too. But I think the main thing is to realize there is so much more.
Yeah, well, I think especially in today's world, there's so many like distractors
That's
too,
right, yeah.
that take us away from that. And what's so interesting is I would compare it to, if you want to go look at the stars, you won't successfully do that in a major city. Like if you go out on a rooftop in New York City or
Right.
Los Angeles or San Francisco.
Right.
Or even Vegas, you won't even see the stars up in the sky. But if you go out into like the countryside or
I was just
somewhere
gonna say.
rural where there's no distractions,
That's right.
you have total clarity.
Nature.
Nature.
How many people tell you go into nature?
Go into nature
Yes,
to find
yes.
clarity. So that's one comparison that I can
Absolutely.
offer to the table today.
So with this mission around the moon that's going on right now, what comes to your mind as to what you think is the purpose of this mission, and what might they find?
Well, they're looking to find things, and they will do, but how much information that they will actually give us, I don't know. I mean, I've learned a lot over the years, and there are people the topic of this show is going to be astral projection. They have to go for a break in a minute. But there's also remote viewing, where people here can actually go and see what's going on. I mean, this has been proven. This is just not something that I'm just talking about and making up. So they know a lot. And actually there is going to be continuation of this show with Russ talking, because he has a show with, I always forget the name of it, Lights in the Night, which will go deeper into that. Right now, for what they're going to tell us, and I'm sure there's a whole lot more that we may not hear, because we haven't had disclosure here yet, that they're just taking a look at the outsider, I guess, and just traveling around the moon. But there is the other side of the moon, which they call the dark side, and many people that can remotely go see that by sitting here. That sounds weird, but that's been proven.
Well, you've traveled through space,
Right.
in your astral projection.
Right.
Could you explain what astral projection is and some of the things you've seen in your travels?
Well, actually, that's what my book is all about, so this might be a good time to talk about what's in my book. So I kind of explained my journey, Call Me Zena, of everything that was happening to me. I had no idea what was happening, but I knew that I was going to different places. I was what I would call at that time, I didn't know about astral projection. I write flying in my book. So I was flying to all these different places and I was documenting it. And actually part of that prose came from something, obviously, that I had seen more of. I don't know if I obviously don't remember every single detail, but I go step by step what I thought was a dream, which was not a dream. So it's flying around, going to different places and seeing different things and meeting different people not from Earth, which to me now is very normal. They're not from Earth, a lot of them.
And an audience, if you'd like to read Sally's book, scan the QR code on the screen or go to Amazon, Call Me Zena, or Author House.
And yes, and I actually even give the dates that I did it. Now that I wrote this, now I'm going back 20 years right now. And I don't often read my own book, but right now I'm really interested in reading it again myself to know what actually that I documented that happened to me. I think a lot of my viewers, if they've been following me, understand a little bit about astral projection and remote viewing. So they can see things that we don't see. They can travel. We can actually get to the moon really fast, but that's a whole show too, which I will do perhaps with Russ, because it sounds very way out without him sitting here.
And you say way beyond the stars, there are so many mysteries.
Right.
What do you think exists beyond what we can see?
So much, Dawn, so much that there are people here that do know that. There are people that understand this that do not. Well, they may talk about it, but people don't understand it because maybe we just haven't been ready. But I think we're getting very ready now for people. They're going to get more inquisitive. They're going to know more, and I think disclosure is going to come about shortly.
In all the realms that you connect to, do you think other people will be able to as well?
Absolutely. Everything I do, and you know I say that, we can all do. I've just exposed myself a little bit more to it because so much has happened to me, and I'm going, how in this world could that happen? Well, I've been trying to prove to myself, to show people too. I'm just an example of what we can do if we start to understand it. And I've come in contact, and you know this, Steve, how many times do we call coincidences today synchronicity? Where everything that I'm doing, we're all capable of. We're all psychic. We just don't know it. And the more you begin to open up into that field, that way of thinking, the more you're going to see will happen.
So how easy was it for you to open up 20 years ago when Aldo came into your life?
Well, I was very lucky because I had someone from, I'm going to say not of this earth, but came to this earth to tell me what was happening to me. I can't tell you that that's going to happen to everybody, but he came to me looking for me for many years, found me, knew me for 1 year, never told me why he was here until I had my first experience. Then, of course, he started to explain things to me. I know you don't know my story, Kendra, but it was interesting because I would never have believed all this if it was not happening to me. And someone came to help me with this, who I had not known. Well, I had known him because we were working in the same building, but never approached me until I had my first experience, and was with me for about 18 years after that to explain everything in detail, what was happening to me. I asked the questions, otherwise I'd think, he might be making, I never thought he was making it up, but other people might. And everything that I asked him, he was able to help me and tell me, and was with me in many other previous lives. So it was quite an experience, which is through my book I do talk about. He passed away 4 years ago now, probably, but he's in my book because he was able to interpret my art.
And Sally, you say take time to smell the flowers. Why is slowing down so important for spiritual awareness?
Because we can't, it's hard to comprehend this, but if your mind is all over the place, which it is, I mean, we're human, having a human experience, it distracts us all the time. So it's very, very hard. And as you say, even in a city, to even look up at the stars. Mm-hmm. First of all, there's usually, like I'm from London, mm-hmm. there was all smoke all around. You couldn't even see the stars. So nature is which is a very good point, because nature is a place where we can quieten ourselves. And many people say meditate. Yes, meditate, but there's different ways of meditating. I know that I was meditating when I was doing my art. I don't remember painting it really, but I am somewhere else. And are we all capable of doing that? Absolutely. the most important part of this whole thing here is that you have to believe that you can, because without that belief system, I don't think it's harder.
Yeah, well, I was actually having a conversation with a dear friend of mine, and she brought up and you just said our minds are constantly busy thinking.
Right.
She said something to me, which was she was like, I can tell from you now that you're now putting your faith in God, and you're trusting Him, and you're trusting that faith. I know this show deals with a lot of like esoteric things, but there's also similarities.
100%.
And so she said, I can already tell that you used to be one of those people that was too smart for their own good, because when you get in your head a lot, you tend to sabotage things that are according to your natural plan. So, and that what you just said hit very similarly to what she said.
Because we're not, it's hard enough to understand this, but with, let's say, when you used to say there's someone on this and someone on that shoulder, because it's very, very hard to get into that part of, I'm going to say, your subconscious. We dream, then our minds are put aside and they're quieter.
Right.
But then again, I had this experience which I thought was a dream, but my mind, let's say, was turned off for those few minutes. So it's hard to, but the thing is, if you believe and you become inquisitive and you want to know more, you hear people talking as I am, and many people talk this way. And yes, of course, I'm not taking God in any way out of the equation, but I call a higher power, because a God can be different. God itself, God, can be different and represent itself in many different ways, and there's nothing wrong with that. Just believe there's something outside of ourselves, and just listen to what we hear. I mean, I was never an artist. I couldn't paint, but my first message was go and get some crayons and start to draw. Well, I'm thinking, I can't paint, but I remembered that, and the next thing I know, I was painting, which I'd never forget the lesson. I wouldn't have been able to draw even with a lesson, but something inside me told me that was a way of me passing my messages on, actually, because I'm not making any of this up. And then I write the prose, which I haven't looked at, actually, other than reading occasionally on my show, 20 years ago. And it took Russ, who has a show here, to tell me he knew my book backwards, because he said to me he wasn't expecting me to call today. I wanted him as a guest to back up a lot of what I was saying about the moon. He said, turn to page 25. He did not have my book in front of me. So I opened up at 25, and that made so much sense to me today. Even me, I wrote it 20 years ago and never comprehended exactly what I've written 20 years later, and I'm the one that wrote it.
Wow.
So that's an example of what can happen to us when we begin to open up. So I'm still opening up. Of course I am. There's a lot more that I need to learn.
The combination of having individuals meet, 1, 2, 3, 4, together, they meet, they synchronize, something happens. Is that the learning environment, or is it each one bringing something? Is it a collective, or is it individual?
It's
the learning?
both. It's both, because we can learn, but it's nice to have people that are asking the same, on that same track. So when we come together, we're both learning and experiencing, because we're meant to be I don't believe any of this. I don't believe you being here is a coincidence. It's synchronicity.
Right.
You may not, I'm not saying understand or even know, because it doesn't matter, but, it matters, but I mean, you may or may not believe what I'm saying. But that's up to the individual.
Well, and considering this week of it being Passover
And
Easter, and also this whole week is about. I was just reading my friend who's very spiritual. She sent me this thing on Instagram, and it's talking about. It was from like a Kabbalah account, but she said this week is all about going through different stages, like it's going to be like 8 days of like transformation of going into like new beginnings, and going into the newest forms of of opportunities. So like closing the old and then opening the
That's
new.
right. And Kabbalah actually is good because it's what they call I think it's the mysterious side of the Jewish religion.
Yeah.
But Kabbalah teaches a lot. I went to Kabbalah here a little bit, and it was a lot of what I had actually been able to, understand myself through Aldo. So, but it gets very deep into that, and it's a religion, but it's not. I mean, it's a belief system.
Right.
And that's the core, actually, I believe, the spiritual side of the Jewish religion. But it's anybody's religion. It doesn't have to be so black and white, in my view, because we're all one. We're all together, whatever we believe we've chosen to. But it's, you have to make a start somewhere. But I believe that we come together to learn. And if we're open enough, then the right questions flow and the right answers flow.
Correct.
So you had somebody to help you decipher what was going on with you. Someone who has a dream, how can they determine whether that was just a dream or they flew somewhere like you did?
Well, I've actually had that question a lot of times, as you know, and I think there's it's not easy to understand, but I can explain my experience. I was having all these experiences 20 years ago. I can have a dream, which I had maybe last night, and I don't remember it. And yet I can remember exactly, I didn't remember the prose, exactly what was on it, every detail of what I thought were dreams until I knew they weren't, because you're there. It doesn't matter how you got there, that's a whole different show. But we are actually experiencing these things. It's not a dream. Many people, you wake up in the morning, you have no idea what you dreamt. But when in detail, from 20 years back now, I can tell you all the places that I visited without looking at my book. And the detail, I remember the dogs that I even saw. That wasn't a dream. How could it be? How do I remember 20 years back? And how did I write this, which I had not gone into until Russ told me to read, page 25. It's interesting because what I'm doing is I'm interpreting what I wrote, which I didn't understand at the time.
All right, Sally, so you say, this I thought was intriguing. Forget the anger, forget the rage, we must forgive. And to me, where we're sitting right now in this political scope of wherever anybody sits, there's a lot of rage, and anger. We're in the middle of a war. What does this piece mean to you now?
Well, it means exactly what I actually wrote then, because in anger, which we talked about before, in anger, you're not going to get the picture. In rage, you're not going to get the picture, but you still see it around you. So what I said, and I think I've said this before, rise, and people say rise above it, but actually if you do, and then you look at it, let's do politics. I do not get involved too much in politics. I listen because I want to know what's going on. But for me to really understand it, I have to take myself out of what's happening, but listen to both sides of anything, because you can get involved in one side and then the anger starts, or you can be talking to somebody who has the other point of view, the anger starts. That's a good way. I don't touch politics, but it's a good way to interpret what's happening, and it happens with everything. We're at war now. What is it over? It's ridiculous.
Because you say, why is forgiveness such a key part of spiritual growth?
I think it's a very difficult part of spiritual growth, but it's a very important part of this, because without the forgiveness, you're not going to be able to see two sides to the story.
What happens energetically when we hold on to that anger?
We stay angry, Dawn. We may not even realize it, but if you have that anger within you, anything at that point can trigger off what you already have in you. So if you can step aside, and it's very difficult, that's a lesson we're all learning here, but it's very difficult. You have to observe it. That was the word that I'm thinking. They just observe the situation as if you're not even part of it. You're reading a book or you're watching a movie, and then you will see more sides to the stories.
Yeah, but sometimes he always says, be careful what you wish to see, because you observe a situation and then you either act, react, or just observe.
Well, yes, and that's normal because we're here to learn too. But if it's getting really heated, or you feel that you're getting the anger, very difficult this. But you raise above it and you observe what's happening, and then look at it from, I'm going to say, you know how they say everybody there's two points of view or whatever, or a lie or not a lie, but then you're able to, how can you look at something that you're opposed to and you're really angry about it? Are you going to listen to the other point of view? No.
Right.
So you have to observe it. You have to take yourself out of that situation and just look at it like a movie going on.
As you know, I've wanted to experience flying, and I've tried and concentrated on it, and I've seen a portal open up in the sky as I'm sleeping, and just never was able to get through it. What's the process?
There really isn't a process. Well, they give you training manuals on doing all this. I didn't read anything. So there obviously, if I was able to do it without reading, we can all get there. Just believe that it's happening. What will stop it from happening is fear, even actually any emotion, because you go, oh, I used to get really excited when I had that feeling coming on that I was going to start, let's call it flying. And that could even take me out of it. I remember thinking, oh, I can't wait. Any emotion you have to be detached of, well, oh my gosh, of the afterwards, yes, of course, and that's why I documented everything. But it's best just to keep you calm, really, not start analyzing what's happening, because if you start analyzing, you're getting back into your brain, you're actually leaving your body. So you want to stay out of your body for the time that you're seeing something that is helping you. Because once you've had that experience, and I've spoken to a few people, especially Mindy, because she wrote a book on this, I said, you know what, it's, I've forgotten exactly what I was going to say.
Mindy.
Yes, Mindy, I know, but what was I talking about?
Process.
Writing a book on it?
Yeah. It's best to, well, I'll get back to that. Something I was going to say, but whoever was helping me left. Hi, come back.
Let's bring them back.
Yeah, I'd come back. Yeah, but
Sally, what about?
Oh, I know what it was. I just remember. You're never the same again. Once you've had a different experience, that's not considered the norm here. And I've spoken to a few people, Mindy being one, who's had a similar experience. You come back differently. I'm sorry, Freddie. Now tell me.
No, forgetting about anger and rage, to forgive. An emotion like that, which I think right now is probably, I don't understand what's going on right now, because that's disappeared. Is that a learning experience as well?
Yeah, we have, and I've said this before, out of a lot of negativity, we have positivity, can come from negativity. But what's happening now is we're in a very difficult time. The world is going crazy. All these things that are happening. So let's say we're really focusing much more on negativity. However, in order to get to let's say the lighter side of this and have some positivity, we've got to understand what's going on. It will end. It's just that it's going on a long time. It's got to burst its bubbles, so to speak. So we've got to have the good and the bad. But right now we've tipped the scale a lot. So we need to come back to a little bit of understanding, and let's all try to be positive, because it's a lot to do with vibrational energy, and that energy, when it goes into that negativity, is harder to pull yourself out of it and become positive. But as a collective, even as the smallest little thing, you say something, I think we were just doing that, let's see the brighter side of that. We can all do that. It's lifting the vibration here up a little bit more. We have a hard task ahead of us, a very difficult task, but we need to do it. We need to do it.
Do you think it's getting harder?
Yes, it is, but it will get harder before it gets better. And now that sounds ridiculous, having said what I've said, but we can speed up this process. We don't want it to go too far, and it's happening, unfortunately. So even a kind word, Aldo, my friend, would go into the Publix. It used to drive me crazy. Now going back 20, hi everybody, shaking hands with them, putting a smile on. I said, they can't be bothered. Why are you doing this? Because I'm brightening someone's day. And that becomes very, very important. If we can all just say something nice to someone, and people say, oh yeah, but I understand that too. But just bring up the vibrations, and as a collective, because we are together in this, it'll raise the frequency.
Okay, you want to take a commercial break?
I'll see you back on the other side of this show.
A true story, Call Me Zena,
voice-
is the telling of Sally Barnard. Born in London, England at the end of the Second World War, she came into the U.S. in 1979. A mother of 2 and a grandmother of 4, she settled in Florida and worked in real estate. While going through a difficult time in her life, she was admitted into a hospital overnight in December of 2005. While settling back into her life, she began having vivid dreams and documenting them. By the 3rd dream, a lady gave her a message to draw. With no artistic background or interest into art or history, Sally listened to her dreams and grabbed a paper and crayons. Today, she has over 150 pieces of inspiring art and poetry. This book follows her journey and interpretations of these messages. She describes in detail on how she is able to astral a project and who she has met along her travels, including her spirit guides. This book will show you how anything is possible with an open mind. These events have changed Sally's life and direction, and this book will show you how to change yours. Purchase Call Me Zena on Amazon today, authorhouse.com and amazon.com.
Thank you for joining me through this journey of self-discovery with the help of my spirit guides. I'm Sally Barnard, and you can find my book at authorhouse and amazon.com or visit my art on my clothing in my boutique at artbysallybarnard.com. Now back to the show. Hi. I could say good afternoon, everybody, but I already said that at the beginning of my show. Welcome back.
Say it
Okay.
again.
I think we've lost some. Oh, hi.
Sarah, tell
I
us
like to look at my
about
show.
your books and other things you can get on your site.
Well, once I'm in this state, it's hard for me to talk about where we get the book.
All right, Steve, you do it.
Yes, well, as we said
We did.
earlier, I highly recommend that everybody get Sally's book. It's called Call Me Zena. Scan the QR code on the screen or go to Amazon and it's Call Me Zena. You can get it 2 ways, either the hard copy or you can get the ebook. And you can go to Author House as well.
Actually, it's hard for me because I'm in a semi-trance, in case everybody didn't know what I was talking about, for me to say that. But I know enough to say that what I have in my book is going to be very, very interesting right now. I don't often talk. I tell people to go and get the book, but it's about my travels to other planets. So I think right now, being that we're all focusing on the moon, it's a good time to go read it. It's also an ebook too, so if you feel like you may not, the hard copy, the paperback has my drawings, but you guess you can still see them.
So if you had to pick one of your travels that you write about in the book, what would you say was the one that stood out as the most life-changing for you?
Well, they all were, because of even the first one, I'm suddenly somewhere. Well, I guess that would be because it happened to me, what happened afterwards. One of my first messages in the beginning, when they told me to go and get some crayons and start to draw. I don't know who had told me. I just knew I was walking down an alley. I can tell you exactly everything, even the colors of the person's hat that she was wearing. But it stood out in my memory enough eventually. I didn't take notice of that, and I did not start drawing in the beginning. But suddenly I'm scribbling, and what I'm saying, how am I able to do that? And then the words that were said to me, maybe a month later, I said, that's right, they told me to go and get some crayons. But what I didn't know, and now Aldo appears in my life, that was the guy that was helping me, I'm drawing things from previous lives that I have never seen. So my message, he's telling me, I'm saying, how do you know? He said, well, go into the internet, because it was history part of one of my lives where I was somebody in history. And I'm seeing some of the things that I had drawn, and he's now interpreting my drawings of past life. So I had to, obviously I believed it was happening to me, but it's hard to tell other people that this is the truth. For me, it was, and I started my journey. I
Right,
lose the question sometimes if I go on a little bit, I know that.
And this is what you always say about Aldo. Yet go slow, my child. Wise patience. This is huge. Such an important message right now.
Very. It's very. And everything that we're hearing and seeing right now, we need to take in a lot, because I'm going to say that's what they're saying to me. We're doing a jump. We're doing a shift right now. And I think it's all beginning to happen, because suddenly now we're going back to the moon. Yes, they're not going to be on the moon, but they're scanning the surface, so to speak. Many things are happening that are a little bit different. The technology that we have today. I mean, if you think about it, go back 50 years even, would you ever imagine that the things that are happening, or take ChatGPT today, it's like talking to a person on the phone, right, or something. People would say, let alone having the iPhone, what are you talking about? Well, let's go 50 years beyond. I don't know what's going to be happening, but this conversation, people will probably be saying, what are they talking about? Why didn't they understand this? Because it's happening, and it's a continual journey. So we're taking a jump right now, and the beginning of the question was, so
About patience.
patience, yes, but it takes time. That's what I was going to say. There is no time on the other side, but there is time here. So take in everything, and that's patience, because people want it, quick, what's next? No, take in every little bit of it, slow down, look at it, see it, begin to understand it, and something else will appear.
Why do you think now? Why did it take over 50 years to go back to the moon?
That's a
and
good
yet it was
question.
quiet until all of a sudden they're going.
Yep.
There was no
It's a-
build up to it.
It's a good question, and I'm going to ask your viewers to tune in maybe to Russ's show on Friday, because I can say a lot, and I do have the answers, Dawn, but I want somebody, it's good, I don't know, I know he knows what I know. We haven't discussed it, but his show on Friday, we are going to. And the fact that I can say something and somebody else didn't know what I was going to say can give the same answer, it will make more sense. I can tell you a lot of things. I know a lot on the dark side of the moon, but I need a backup, so to speak, even if that makes sense. So yes, tune into that, and maybe the following Monday we'll talk more.
Okay.
The show you're referring to is called Lights in the Night.
Thank you. Yes. And we'll talk more, because I can say a lot of things, and I don't usually mind coming out with a lot of things, but this is a little strange, even for me to talk about it. So that, it's good to have, like, okay, Sally, I know. Let's go on with the rest of the story.
You have another question, Freddie?
I wanted to ask about immortality.
Okay.
Do our souls continue beyond this dimension?
Yes, of course they do. Well, I say of course because it's like, yes, they absolutely do. We're here to learn, and we're all on a learning path. However, there's some people starting their learning, there's some people carrying on further on and beyond. I don't believe, as long as we come back here and we reincarnate, that we're always coming back for that person, for that reason, to learn more.
Kendra, what do you think?
As far as immortality goes, well,
Oh, actually, that was a question.
yeah.
What happens, just to let you know,
Yeah.
is that when I start this, because I'm not completely in control of what I'm saying, I kind of listen.
Yeah.
So it's either my higher self or wherever it's coming from. So then
Yeah.
I do apologize, and if you want, I can go into the immortality.
Well, but it's something that my dad has always told me, and this is actually give you solace. But when I was growing up, I was so hard on myself. I was like, why can't I think of that? Why can't I do that? Like whenever my mom would remind me to do something or offer a different perspective, or whenever someone would give me any sort of like constructive criticism, I would be so hard on myself. And even today, I'm at the tail end of getting out of that. But my dad would always tell me, he said, presidents, princes, and popes have advisors to keep them on track.
Keep them on track.
And whenever I start to feel myself feeling what you're feeling, like, oh, why didn't I like keep track of the question? No, it's because you have your own leadership capabilities, and the smartest leaders always delegate.
Yeah,
They
I totally
always-
see that. Yes.
It's always the dumbest people in the room
think they know.
that have all the answers.
I just going to say they think they know everything. It's the
They
one,
think-
and that's so
yes.
true, because it's the ones that want to learn are the ones that are actually, although they don't know they know it or they want to learn more, are the smartest. Because how do we learn? We learn from other people. We learn that. There's so much, people say, but you know a lot. No, I don't. I know that much because there is so much more. But I've had the experience of talking about it now for a long time. So I might be a little ahead, but it doesn't matter than someone else that's just starting their journey. But what does it matter if someone's there or there, as long as we're beginning to learn at whatever pace we want? I think in the beginning we need to go slow, and I still do, because it's hard to take this all in because we're trained to think one way, and now we're thinking, as they say, out of the box. There are many expressions that go along with that. Then you train yourself to learn more, and you're going in a different direction. Well, that's hard. That's very hard. But the fact that I know that, I knew this, I always say I was very stubborn. I didn't want to know because they really came at me. I'm starting to travel, and I knew nothing about it. I had to wake up a little bit.
I think people are having a harder and harder time with expenses, with gas, with economics, with business, with jobs, with figuring it all out. And now suddenly we go to the moon. Do you think there's some sort of parallel synergy of what's going on, all of it at the same time?
Yes, because we can say we're a little out of balance, because balance is what's very important. So it's from one extreme to the other, and that's what I feel the question is, because what we do is one end of the scale, but the other end, there's an in-between too. And that's where it takes time to see what's going on, because if you just suddenly, everything is there and there's everything there, there's no balance. So we're trying to get into balance. People that talk a little bit the way like I do, that are thinking a little bit of what's going on, there's so much to learn that we have to start somewhere. So we have to keep balance. I think that's the answer to it.
What do you think the biggest message that you want people to take away from this passage on page 25?
From what I wrote?
Book.
Well, actually, people that have read my book or are reading it, start with looking at that first one. It was the first one I wrote, I believe, right? I'm looking at it because I'm way ahead of my 20 years now. So you start to read something, and we all interpret it the way of where our journey is. I've come a long way on my journey over the last 20 years. I'm looking at something. It was, in other words, it was there. The answers were all there. I wrote them down. But I'm only looking at it. It took somebody else today to tell me to go to my passage on page 25. Read it again. So I'm looking at it myself a completely different way, because we're all learning. You can read it a different way to me. I can talk all I like about the way I'm interpreting it, but you're still going to see it where you are to how you'll interpret. Each one of us can interpret it differently. I believe that it was a very strong message. I believe that I was being spoken to by the individuals that, let's say the aliens, which I talk about. I was given messages, and it's a lot to do with what was going on in the earth, and still is today. We have to stop, listen to ourselves. I have another one in there, I think exactly about that now that I'm thinking about it. Stop and listen or something.
And when people astral project, it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to another planet or the moon. You can go visit somebody on Earth that you want to either, I guess, rehab the conversation with, or see how they're doing.
Exactly.
So our dreams could be
it
merely
doesn't
we're
have
astral
to be.
projecting
Mine
all the
happened to be
time.
because I'm interested in what's going out there in space. So mine were very much about taking me to different planets. You can just, Aldo told me not to do this, but you can actually just travel around your neighborhood and go in and listen to a conversation. But just because you can do it doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. So there is a kind of a law too. He said, don't go into someone's living room or wherever they are and listen to them.
True.
So it's, there are other things that are, that are important that we might want to do. But we can do anything. We're out of our body. We're not in our body. Our body is there, but we're outside of that. So travel where you want to, where you find interest, but not in your neighbor's house.
So it's very interesting. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine in Vegas, and he brought up that term remote viewing, because I had told him about an intuitive experience that I had, and he had told me, he said, oh, I see you performing at this club in Vegas, and there's something to do with the fox outside. There's like a fox character or something. So funny enough, I go home that night, and because I'm in Vegas mode, I watch the movie 21, the movie with Jim Sturgis and Kevin Spacey about the students that were counting cards. And in one of the scenes in the movie, they go into a club, and the club is called Fox. I'm like, okay. I wasn't going to be performing at a club called Fox. Well, maybe, but it's almost like he saw me watching the movie.
Well, yeah, that's actually very interesting, and because it goes a little deeper than that. Because I believe that we plan our life, but we have free will. We can change it, and other people can. But there are many people that can tap into that. And I mean, I don't know the whole story of who he is or whatever, but I believe that he tapped into something, and what somebody sometimes tells you can actually come about. And but it's not, you could say, but that's an invasion of your privacy or something, of whatever. Remember, we've always got free will. So when people even give premonitions of something, we still have the ability, if we want to change that. Because there's different, what they call timelines, and different things that we can do to do that. But you can get an outline of what maybe somebody.
It was just
so
really
there you go.
Interesting.
And you think this is coincidence? You're just sitting here.
He was like, you're gonna go perform at a club, and there's like, I see a fox.
Well, I
outside
believe that,
or something.
Kendra. Keep me up to date on that, because.
And I was, but then I just went home that night and I watched the movie, and then there's a scene where they're like living the high life and going into this club, and the club is called Fox.
Well, it's to give you more, I guess, messages about maybe where you're going to be performing or something.
Probably,
I think so. Because they don't just stop with one message. Now you see the fox again or something. You'll probably maybe see something else. And then one day, I'm not saying for sure, but it's up to you. Oh, I'm performing in this club. Oh my gosh, look at it. Somebody told me.
Right.
So these things happen. They're real. They're real. But it's still up to us what we want to do. Right. That was interesting. Thank you.
Yeah.
And then what do we do with that information?
Well, we can take what we want from it, Dawn, because now we're becoming aware. Even if it was just to open somebody's mind up that this happened and that fact that you're listening to and being on the show today. So that information is also entirely up to us. But if we're ready, you will keep seeing something similar, like the fox or something like that. They don't just stop with one message. They'll give you another one and another one if you're wanting to. Now, I'm not saying go around listening to it or looking for it, but it does happen.
Kendra, you're very attuned to messages and very filled with faith.
Yes.
Both religion and spirituality. Do you see them working together for you?
I do, and I will say that whenever I do want to venture more into that like spiritual, like esoteric realm, I always make sure that I pray to my Lord and Savior for protection, so that I do get more of the truth and clarity, as opposed to other things that could come in, like
and I'm
those
glad
other
you brought that up,
distractions.
because there are, I try and I say I'm not really scared of anything, because I feel that Aldo's protecting me and everybody that needs to be helping me from the other side. But it's very, very important to protect yourself,
so that you have that shield.
Yes, as a shield. Basically, even if you just imagine, which is happening though, around you, to put that. And it certainly doesn't take anything out of the equation. However way you want to get to this, it can be spirituality, religion, anything. The most important is to believe. And once you believe, follow that and just protect yourself the best you can. And I think we're all on the right track. We could all do that. Our lives, everybody's lives would be a lot different.
The shield is very, very important.
Even he would tell me that, and I had him.
It's
but he'd
very
say,
important.
just imagine there's a shield around you that can't get to you. But then on the other hand, and there is a shield, but those energies can bounce back too to the person. I don't choose to hurt someone if they're sending something bad to me, but it can go back to the person too. So
Well, if they
yeah.
say something bad, then if it ricochets.
Well, I say I don't choose to, but you know what? If someone's throwing something really bad at me, it's not for me to understand where it's going because I don't know who's doing it.
Right.
But if they can think those thoughts, then I'm sorry, maybe it will happen to you. Then.
Yeah,
Yes.
but
I say
if
I
it-
don't choose to, but
like
that's
I said, if it ricochets, sorry.
but actually, it's not even our choice because as long
Yeah.
as I've got that shield or whoever it is and I'm protecting myself, it will automatically just bounce off it. Where's it going to go? To the person that was sending it, right? So
Correct.
that's out of my
Yeah.
control anyway. Right.
Yeah,
That was interesting.
This email bounced back.
Yeah, well, it's true. I mean, in my belief, I really truly believe that. I
Yeah.
saw it happen with Aldo many times. So,
Steve?
You have said numerous times that you've had this feeling of this negative energy, surrounding you. And how is it that you deflect that?
how do I deflect the negative energy? I just need not to fall into the trap of the negativity. But you know what? I get enough messages around me. You've seen that. When I felt like I was having bad energy thrown at me, strange people that understood this were coming, and you saw it come up to me and say, you're having bad energy sent to you. And someone actually came and put some drops in I was selling my book, and a lady from nowhere came up because she was psychic, could feel what was happening to me. She put some drops that she was carrying around for herself into my water and said, please drink this. So if you're aware and you're open to these things, then you're going to see what's happening. It's better you see it.
Nervous when that happened, by the way.
Well, because she sensed
Yeah.
it. And two people came up to me with the same message because I felt I was having negative energy.
I'm very
okay.
hesitant about those kinds of people. Like I was walking around Meisner Park one night. I just remember like a few years ago, and this lady, she had, and it's always this. I don't want to be derogatory when I say this, but like very gypsy looking.
No, this is a lady I knew. No, I knew her because she
Okay.
lived in London. This
Okay.
was not some stranger.
Okay, yeah.
I happened to be
Yeah,
in
there-
a mall, and
there
I
was a strange-
attracted people that
Okay.
live right near me in London. So they
Right.
knew people that I knew. In fact, I myself had been following for some reason. She reminded
Got
me
it.
of somebody. And she was walking around and came over. I don't go out like that much in public to even do that. But two people were both English that knew where I lived from London. So this was real. There's a lot that isn't, and I understand what you're saying too.
Yeah,
100%. But I felt them.
Yeah,
That's why
she
they.
was like coming at. She said, "There's something around."
Yeah, no,
And I was like,
you're right.
I was like, yeah, there's shops around me.
Yeah, no, that's different, and I totally see what you're saying. But two people, and
Yeah.
that my validation for those two people that came up to me were my neighbors in London, and I'm meeting
Okay.
them over here in Florida. However, if someone else had come up that I didn't, I would sense that and
Correct.
go away from me because
Yeah.
that does happen too. So this was different, but I'm glad you brought up
Okay.
both sides to the story.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've had a lot of experiences that one would say, some would say they're coincidence, but others would, agree that it's synchronicity. Like we're in a jewelry repair shop, and the
Yeah.
woman from England was there who actually dated your brother.
Yeah. This is only last year, not that long ago. And I mean, different if I'm in London or I'm in England even, but I'm over here. I mean, my best story actually is in my book, 2 stories of English people too. I mean, I could go into all the things, but
I love the one where you found Trudy.
yes, my stepmother, that was beyond belief, really. But I won't go into that today because we don't have the time. But maybe I should come out with a few of those stories because it's just beyond it being coincidence, but it's beyond trying to understand how it happened. It was incredible. And it happens to every one of us. But the more you get into following this slightly, even just opening up to some of what maybe I'm saying to help people to begin to understand too. I certainly don't have not even quarter of the answers, but they are there. They are there. We have to start somewhere, right? I mean, this studio has been amazing, the people that we've met here, that I have on my short times that I've been here, with what you've certainly met, right?
Well, maybe you can explain to people what that looks like, the coincidences, the non-coincidence, what happens to Kendra with the fox and 21.
Okay.
And then what do we do with that information?
Take it and listen to it, because these messages are not for just, oh, we're going to give you a message. They're here to open us up. And the more you begin to take it in, like with that, and you'll see more will happen. You'll see more foxes, because they don't stop there. They don't give you a message and walk away. Once they see they're getting an interest, they might do if there's no interest. They're not different to us. But the spirits that are giving us these messages, or family from whoever it is from the other side, are around us. And the more they realize that maybe we're listening, oh, it's like, you're listening, I want to give you more information. That's what happens. So they just keep doing it, and they're happening all the time. You saw that in the beginning of our relationship, Steve. You saw amazing things happen. You were not opening up at that point before that, right? It took the synchronicities between what's happening for you to even begin to start the journey, right?
Yeah, I mean, one, miraculous thing happened with the white feather.
Yeah, that was incredible. But we'll do that. Yes, but the fact is that I might not, because I started before you, I never lose that moment, because I think that's very important. But I think there are many other things even more than that. But that's amazing, because I've gone a little ahead. But it doesn't mean that you're not going to catch up or even go ahead of me. It's not a race. It's just opening your mind up to other possibilities that can exist. And when you start to begin that, it starts to happen. It's happening, we just don't see it. It's happening all around us.
I went last Saturday to the pharmacy to get some allergy medicine. I ended up going down the aisle and picking up something. I didn't even know what was in it. And then after I bought it, I realized that my dad was giving me this message. This was like his old tried and true allergy medication. And I came home, and Chuck even had to laugh. He goes, does it look like this? And I said, that's exactly what it was. He said, how did you know to get that, and what made you get it? I said, I think it was a message from my dad. Why would I walk down this allergy aisle?
Right.
And I didn't want to go out yesterday. I said, I got to go get something. My allergies are making me crazy. And it was just the old school thing that he used to have me on when I was a little girl. And I knew the message had to come from him, because it's not one of the ones you see on TV. It's not one of the ones with the ads. And no one would know for me to go get this. And then I realized, and he had me think back to when I was 5 and had horrible allergies. This is what he would have me take. Random messages from beyond.
And you
on
just
an
gave
allergy
me a
medicine.
message. You have no idea, when I was young, what allergies I had. They were giving me always the latest antihistamine, because that could help.
So funny, right?
Just even to bring it up.
So sometimes you don't get messages that are huge.
No, they can
sometimes
be little
they're just
things.
little things on,
Yeah.
this is the right
'Cause
allergy
we
medicine
believe we
you're
knew
gonna
each
take.
other, and you, same thing. But they'll always give, especially your dad. You know that he's around you, and it's the validation that for him that you went and bought it. So even they get, oh, let's get more, let's do more.
go
She's
get
listening. Yeah, you'll get another one, and you'll go do it. They get excited. They don't want to think they're just saying it. No one's listening. It's the same thing.
This ran, and I think
interesting.
we have to slow down and quiet our minds to actually hear the messages.
100%.
Because if we're always on our phones, we're always on TV, even if we always have our headphones in, there's so much outside noise. Maybe it's done purposefully a little bit.
It is actually
lower our
yeah.
frequencies, and you put all of this out there. They're good and the bad of technology, but it definitely lowers your functioning, your thought process,
Well,
if you're being bombarded with everything from the outside.
And there is a reason for that. There are the powers that be, if you want, that really don't want us necessarily, because there's balance. They're the ones that want you to understand, and they're the ones that don't want you to understand. So the ones that don't want you to understand are working overtime if you begin to start understanding. We've got to get that balance.
Well, and that's really interesting that you bring that up, is because if you look at all the talent from back in the day, like, they were superhumans. And it was because they were, well, first of all, they were eating like real food, like real butter, real meat, real sugar, real
Right.
this. There was no deterrence in it. But the thing is that the electromagnetic waves and the distractions back then weren't as great and considerable as they are today. So that's why they were able to be not distracted and to really like train and hone their craft. So that's why you would see performers like go all night long. Like they would get done doing a show at like midnight, and then they would go to someone's house and continue singing and performing. They had that agility and that strength and that power to do so. So now I'm looking at the performers today. It's so mediocre. It's because
it's a lot to do with a lot of things. One is
it's a lot to do with the distractions, because
and our foods that we eat,
and
because you just
and the
mentioned that
foods.
it's everywhere.
Yeah.
It's the environment. It's the allergies that we get, because
it's like I see these performers are going backstage and they're like preparing and doing all these things to get themselves ready for one song. I mean, look at Elvis. He was like eating like fried foods or whatever, but he was so into it, and he just
I just found out, because out of all the singers that I used to listen to, Elvis was definitely my favorite.
Yeah.
But he was also very much into what I'm talking about. I did not know that, but someone started to talk about Elvis, and because he had a twin, right? His brother.
Sally, ready to wrap this up?
Yeah. Well, on that note, tune in next week, and maybe we'll carry on with this conversation. Bye-bye, everybody. Have a wonderful, wonderful week. You have been watching Call Me Zena with your host, Sally Barnard. As an artist, author, and spiritual experiencer, know that you can always seek me out for resources by visiting artbysallybarnard.com. Join us next week, Mondays at 2:30. Have a blessed day.